The silver bracelet on Riley Thompson's wrist had exactly 17 scratches. One for each time she'd almost told someone the truth about her sister's death. Preston Academy's pickleball courts gleamed under the Connecticut sun like a false promise. Riley crouched by the fence, gathering stray balls while the popular kids practiced their serves. 5 years of therapy had taught her the value of being invisible, of blending into backgrounds like expensive wallpaper. But today something in the autumn air tasted different. Maybe it was the way Chase Wellington kept glancing at her between serves. Not the usual dismissive look reserved for scholarship kids or social outcasts, but something more focused, calculating. "Thompson," Coach Mills barked. "Get those balls sorted. Team needs them for drills." Riley nodded, keeping her movements small and efficient, at her old school in D.C. before everything fell apart. She might have rolled her eyes or made a joke, but that girl had died the same night her sister Sophia had climbed onto the roof of their family's Georgetown townhouse and stepped into empty air. No, that wasn't right. Sophia hadn't just stepped. She'd been pushed by invisible hands, by whispers that came through screens at 3 a.m, by images that weren't real, but might as well have been, by people who knew exactly which buttons to press until a brilliant pre-med student saw no other way out. Riley's fingers found the bracelet again. Veritas Truth, Sophia's high school Latin club motto. Engraved in delicate script, the only thing the police had returned that wasn't evidence. "Jesus, could you move any slower?" The voice made Riley's shoulders tense. Madison Hayes, Chase's girlfriend, stood with one manicured hand on her hip. The other girls flanked her like well-trained dogs. Emma Chen with her perfect GPA and designer anxiety medication. Chloe Martinez, who smiled too much and ate too little. And Jenna Park, whose mother had donated the new science wing. "Sorry," Riley mumbled, not meeting their eyes. Another lesson from therapy: apologize first, even when you've done nothing wrong. It confuses predators when prey doesn't run. Madison's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "God, you're like a ghost. Do you even talk, or do you just creep around picking up after people?" The other girls giggled on cue. Riley noticed how Emma's laugh came a beat too late, how her eyes darted to Chase before settling back on Riley. Interesting, in her peripheral vision. She caught Marcus Kim adjusting something on his phone, angling it just so, always filming. That one, always documenting. "Leave her alone, babe." Chase's voice carried across the court, lazy and amused. "She's doing her job." But he was walking over, his movement loose and predatory. Dylan Rodriguez and Ethan Blackwood followed, their expensive athletic wear making soft whisking sounds. The sound of money in motion. Riley kept her eyes down, counting balls. 17 in the basket. 17 scratches on her bracelet. 17 times she'd wanted to scream that Sophia didn't kill herself. She was murdered by pixels and lies and systematic cruelty. "You know," Chase said, stopping close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive that probably cost more than her family's monthly grocery bill. "You look really familiar. Have we met before?" The question was casual, but Riley's trained ear caught the undertone. Her father, before he'd quit the FBI to spend his days staring at Sophia's photos, had taught her about voice stress patterns, the slight elevation in pitch, the measured pace Chase was fishing. "I don't think so," Riley said quietly, still not looking up. "No, seriously." He crouched and burned, bringing himself to her eye level. This close. She could see the calculation behind his perfect smile. "You remind me of someone I used to know." Riley's heart hammered. but she kept her breathing steady. 3 counts in, 5 counts out. The panic management technique her mother had drilled into her after the 4th therapist had given up. "I get that a lot," she managed. "Common face, I guess." Chase tilted his head, studying her. Behind him, Marcus had definitely started recording. The angle was subtle, anyone watching would think he was just checking his phone. But Riley recognized the stance, the careful positioning. How many victims had been filmed without knowing? How many had found out only when it was too late? "Thompson," Chase mused, rolling her last name around like wine. "Riley Thompson, your family from around here. We moved from D.C. last year." Truth wrapped in omission. They'd moved after her mother had found her father passed out in Sophia's room with her father's service weapon in his hand. "Safety off." "D.C., huh?" Dylan chimed in, exchanging a look with Chase. "Fancy. What made you come to boring old Connecticut?" Riley shrugged, finally meeting Chase's eyes for a split second before looking away. Long enough to see his pupils dilate slightly, not attraction, but recognition. He knew. Somehow, he knew. "Yo, Chase," someone called from the court. "We playing, or what?" Chase stood slowly, that calculating look never leaving his face. "Yeah, we're playing." But he wasn't talking about pickleball as the group walked away. Riley heard Madison whisper something that made the others laugh. Only Emma looked back, her expression unreadable. Riley filed it away. In her experience, the ones who looked back were either predators checking their trail or prey recognizing one of their own. She finished collecting the balls and wheeled the basket to the storage shed. The space was dim and smelled like rubber and ambition gone sour. Riley allowed herself 30 seconds to lean against the wall and shake. Then she straightened, smoothed her second-hand uniform, and stepped back into the light. The thing about being invisible is that people forget you're watching. They let their masks slip, show their true faces when they think no one important is looking. Riley had become an expert at being no one important. But Chase Wellington had recognized something in her. And that was dangerous. Not for the reasons he thought. Though he'd seen Sophia in her face, the same delicate bone structure, the same wide-set eyes, the same way of holding perfectly still when threatened. What he hadn't recognized was their father in her, too. The analytical mind, the pattern recognition, the ability to catalog every micro-expression and vocal tell. Sophia had been brilliant, but trusting. Riley was brilliant and broken. It made all the difference. The rest of practice passed in a blur of serves and volleys. Riley stationed herself by the water coolers, ostensibly organizing supplies, but actually observing. Chase's crew had a hierarchy as rigid as any wolf pack. Chase was the undisputed alpha. But Marcus held a special position, not quite beta, more like consigliere, the tech wizard who made things happen. Dylan was the charmer, the one who could talk anyone into anything. And Ethan was pure muscle, the enforcer who ensured compliance. She watched them work, noting patterns, how they isolated potential targets with surgical precision. Sarah Kim, a sophomore transfer, had caught Dylan's attention. He was laying on the charm. But Riley saw how Marcus filmed their interaction, how Ethan positioned himself to block her exit routes. They were hunting, and Sarah didn't even know she was prey. "Creepy much?" Riley startled. Amara Davis stood beside her, having appeared as silently as smoke. The other girl was a junior, known for her tech skills and general disinterest in Preston's social hierarchy. Her father worked in IT security, and rumors said Amara had inherited more than just his dark eyes and skeptical expression. "Just doing my job," Riley said carefully. Amara snorted. "Right. And I'm just here for the thrilling water bottle organization." She lowered her voice. "You see it too, don't you? The patterns, the way they work." Riley's instinct was to play dumb, but something in Amara's tone stopped her. "I don't know what you mean." "Sure you don't." Amara pulled out her phone, swiping through what looked like a note-taking app but was actually something more complex. Riley caught glimpses of file names, dates, patterns of data. 2 years I've been watching them, documenting, waiting for someone else to notice. "Why tell me?" Amara's smile was sharp as winter. "Because you look at them the way I do, like you're cataloging evidence for a case that hasn't been filed yet." Before Riley could respond, a commotion erupted on the court. Sarah Kim had tripped or been tripped, and Dylan was helping her up. All concern and gentle touches. But Riley saw the moment Sarah realized her phone was missing, saw the flash of panic before Dylan smoothly found it under the bleachers. "Phase 1, Amara murmured. "They'll have installed something while she was distracted. Tracking software. Probably. Maybe worse." Riley's hands clenched. She'd seen this before. In the digital forensics report that her father had paid too much money to keep out of Sophia's official file. The gradual escalation. The systematic invasion of privacy. The slow tightening of the noose. "Why doesn't anyone stop them?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "You mean besides the fact that Chase's daddy is a senator, that Marcus's family owns half the tech companies in the state, that the school's reputation matters more than student safety?" Amara's laugh was bitter. "Take your pick." Practice ended with Coach Mills blowing her whistle. The woman's hands shook slightly as she dismissed the team. Riley wondered what they had on her. Everyone at Preston had secrets, and Chase's crew seemed to collect them like trophies. Riley was heading to the locker room when it happened. She'd bent down to retie her shoe, kneeling on the asphalt path between the courts and the main building. The afternoon sun cast long shadows, and for a moment she felt almost peaceful. Then hands grabbed her skirt. The fabric yanked upward with vicious force, exposing her to the cool air and the laughter that erupted like gunfire. Riley's body went rigid, not from surprise, but from recognition. The angle of the grab, the timing, the positioning of the crowd, it was all deliberately orchestrated. "Oops," Dylan's voice rang with false innocence. "Sorry, ghost girl, didn't see you there." But it wasn't Dylan who'd done it. As Riley spun around, her skirt falling back into place, she saw the truth in the formation. Dylan was the distraction, standing too far away to have been the grabber. Ethan was the muscle, blocking any escape route. Marcus had his phone out, already filming, the angle perfect to catch maximum humiliation. And Chase stood at the exact distance Sophia's forensic report had mentioned, close enough to orchestrate, far enough to claim plausible deniability. "What the hell is wrong with you?" The words ripped from Riley's throat before she could stop them. Not the meek response they'd expected from the ghost girl. Chase's smirk widened. "Wow, it speaks. And here I thought you were mute or something." "Probably mental, like her sister." The words came from Madison, but Riley barely heard them. Blood roared in her ears as pieces clicked into place. Like her sister. They knew. They'd always known. "What did you just say?" Riley's voice had dropped to something dangerous, something her therapists had worked very hard to suppress. Madison laughed, high and cruel. "Oh, did I hit a nerve? Everyone knows about Sophia Thompson. Crazy bitch who couldn't handle a little joke. went splat off the science building at Georgetown Prep. Very dramatic. Very attention-seeking. The world narrowed to a single point of clarity. Riley saw her father's FBI files spread across his desk, saw the deep-fake videos they'd sent Sophia, pornographic images so realistic her sister's boyfriend had believed them, saw the messages, escalating from just jokes to detailed instructions on how to kill herself, saw the final text, sent from a burner phone an hour before Sophia climbed those stairs. "Do it already. No one will miss you." It wasn't a joke. The words came out ice cold, each one precisely placed. It was murder. Silence fell like a hammer. Even Marcus lowered his phone slightly, uncertainty flickering across his face. Chase stepped forward, all pretense of casual cruelty gone. His eyes were flat, reptilian. "Careful, ghost girl. Your sister was sick. Everyone knows that. Making up stories. Seeing conspiracies everywhere. Mental illness runs in families, doesn't it?" "So does murder," Riley said quietly. "Just ask your dad about his first campaign manager, the one who committed suicide right before the corruption story broke." Chase's face went white, then red. "You fucking... Chase!" Ethan's warning came sharp. They were drawing attention. Other students had stopped to stare, and Dr. Chen, the school counselor, was heading their way. "Is there a problem here?" Dr. Chen's voice cut through the tension. "No problem," Chase said smoothly, his politician's smile sliding back into place. "Just welcoming our new friend to Preston Traditions." Dr. Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. She looked at Riley, who had gone back to being a ghost, shoulders hunched, eyes down. "Miss Thompson, are you all right?" "I'm fine," Riley mumbled. "Just clumsy. Dropped something." The lie tasted like ash, but Dr. Chen couldn't push without making things worse. Riley had learned that the hard way at her last school, when reporting the harassment had only painted a bigger target on her back. "All right then," Dr. Chen said slowly. "Everyone back to what you were doing. The bell's about to ring." The crowd dispersed reluctantly. Chase's crew melted away like shadows. But not before Marcus gave Riley a long, measuring look. She'd surprised them. That was dangerous. Surprises made predators reassess, and reassessment led to escalation. Riley grabbed her backpack and walked steadily toward the main building. She didn't run. Running would make her prey. But inside, her mind raced through possibilities and probabilities, analyzing the encounter like her father had taught her. They'd pulled her skirt up not just for humiliation, but for filming. The angle Marcus had chosen wasn't random. It was designed to capture her face, her reaction, her body. Standard material for their blackmail archives. But they'd gotten more than they'd bargained for. In the bathroom, Riley locked herself in a stall and finally let herself shake. Not from fear or humiliation, but from rage, so pure it felt like fire. They'd done this to Sophia, made her feel small and exposed and worthless until death seemed like the only door out. But Sophia hadn't known what Riley knew, hadn't seen the patterns, the methodology, the careful psychological warfare. Sophia had believed she was alone, that it was random cruelty, that she was somehow to blame. Riley knew better. This was a system, refined and perfected over years. How many victims had there been? How many Sophias who'd suffered in silence until they couldn't anymore? She pulled out her phone and opened a secure app hidden behind 3 layers of dummy interfaces. Her father might have given up on justice, but he'd left her with tools, FBI-grade encryption, anonymous cloud storage, detailed files on every student at Preston who'd died or disappeared under mysterious circumstances in the last 5 years. The number was higher than it should be. Much higher. Riley typed quickly, documenting everything while it was fresh. Chase's micro-expressions, Madison's specific words, the formation they'd used, the timing, evidence, real evidence, not the circumstantial crumbs that had let Sophia's tormentors walk free. A toilet flushed in another stall. Riley froze, fingers hovering over her phone. Footsteps approached her stall and stopped. "I know you're planning something." Amara's voice was quiet, but clear. "Whatever it is, you can't do it alone. They're too connected, too protected." Riley said nothing. "Sarah Kim won't be the last. You know that, right? They've gotten bolder since—" Amara paused. "Since the last girl who tried to expose them ended up in a psychiatric hold. Lily Morrison. She's still at Riverside Behavioral Health. Her parents think she had a psychotic break." "What really happened?" Riley asked, though she could guess. She gathered evidence, screenshots, recordings, witness statements, took it to the administration. 2 days later, deepfake videos of her started circulating. Not just porn, worse. Things that made her look unstable, dangerous. By the time she tried to explain they were fake, nobody believed her. The technology's too good now. Even experts have trouble telling. Riley's hand found her bracelet again. 17 scratches. 17 times she'd almost spoken up. And 17 times she'd stayed silent, because she'd seen what speaking up had cost Sophia. "There's going to be an 18, she said quietly. "What?" Riley opened the stall door. Amara stood by the sinks, her dark eyes reflecting understanding. 18 scratches, Riley clarified. "One for every time I wanted to tell the truth and did." Something shifted in Amara's expression. "You're not just here to grieve. You're here to hunt." "My sister didn't commit suicide," Riley said, meeting Amara's gaze steadily. "She was murdered, slowly, systematically, cruelly, and the people who did it are still doing it to others. You have proof. I have patterns, data. 5 years of investigation my father did before he gave up. And now I have this." She held up her phone. "Fresh evidence. They made a mistake today. They showed their hand." Amara was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out her own phone, swiping to an encrypted folder. 2 years of documentation. Every incident, every victim, every pattern. I've been waiting for someone who could see what I see. Why didn't you do something? Because I'm nobody. My dad fixes computers. My mom teaches kindergarten. We're not rich, not connected, not special. The system doesn't listen to people like me." She paused. "But you're different. You're Sophia Thompson's sister. The girl who died made national news, even if they buried the real story. People will listen to you." Riley laughed, sharp and bitter. "They didn't listen when Sophia was alive. Why would they listen now? Because now there's a pattern. A provable, documented pattern. And because—" Amara hesitated. "Because Chase Wellington is getting sloppy. The skirt thing today, that was impulse, not planning. He recognized you and couldn't resist. That's new. That's dangerous. For him." The bathroom door opened. Emma Chen walked in, saw them, and froze. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Emma's face crumpled. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered. "I can't watch it happen again." Riley and Amara exchanged glances. "Watch what happened?" Riley asked carefully. Emma's hands shook as she checked the stalls, making sure they were alone. Lily wasn't the first. There was another girl, 2 years ago. Natalie Wu. Emma swallowed hard. She fought back, tried to expose them. They destroyed her so completely she had to transfer to a school in Switzerland. But before she left, she gave me something. What? Amara leaned forward. Insurance. Emma pulled out her phone, fingers flying over the screen. Hidden recordings. Financial records showing payments to a dark website that specializes in deepfakes. Chat logs from their private group. I've been too scared to use it. But what? Riley pressed. Sarah Kim is my roommate, Emma said quietly. I saw what they installed on her phone today. It's not just tracking software. It's full access camera, microphone, everything. They're going to destroy her. And her voice broke. She's already fragile. Lost her brother last year. If they do what they're planning, what are they planning? Riley's voice was steady, but inside, she burned. Emma looked between them, fear and determination warring in her eyes. They call it the gauntlet. 7 stages of escalation. Embarrassment. Isolation. False evidence. Public humiliation. Psychological torture. Social destruction. And then, she couldn't finish. And then, they offer one way out, Riley said quietly. One door. The same door they offered Sophia. Silence stretched between them, heavy with shared understanding. Show us what you have, Amara said finally. Everything. Emma nodded, pulling up encrypted files. As data flowed between their phones, Riley felt something shift inside her. For 5 years, she'd carried her truth alone. 17 scratches marking 17 silences. But now she wasn't alone. The bell rang, sharp and demanding. Students would flood the hallways in moments. But in that bathroom, 3 girls stood in a circle of shared secrets and terrible knowledge, planning something that would either save lives or destroy them all. They'll come for us, Emma warned. Once they realize we're working together, they'll come hard. Let them, Riley said, her father's analytical coldness mixing with her mother's therapeutic insight. I've been studying predators my whole life. The thing they never expect. What? Amara asked. Riley smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. When the prey stops running and starts hunting back. As they left the bathroom, Riley caught her reflection in the mirror. For just a moment, she saw Sophia standing behind her, not the broken girl from the end, but the fierce pre-med student who'd once stood up to bullies in middle school, who'd tutored disadvantaged kids, who'd believed in justice. I'm going to finish what you started, she whispered to the ghost in the mirror. And this time, we're going to win. Outside, Chase Wellington held court near the lockers, his crew arranged around him like a medieval painting. He caught sight of Riley and smiled, slow and predatory. A challenge. A promise. Riley smiled back, and for the first time since arriving at Preston Academy. She didn't look away first. The hunt was on, but as she walked to her next class, Riley's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her look. The message was simple. I know who you really are. Meet me in the old music room after school, or everyone will know what your father did to cover up Sophia's real secrets. Riley's blood went cold. Someone else was playing this game. Someone who knew more than they should. The pieces on the board were moving, and suddenly, She wasn't sure who was hunting whom. The phone buzzed again. This time, it was a photo. Sophia, alive, meeting with someone in shadows. The timestamp was 3 days before her death, and the person in the shadows. The silhouette was unclear, but the Preston Academy letter jacket was unmistakable. Riley's hand found her bracelet one more time. 18 scratches for 18 truths. But what if everything she believed was just another lie? The old music room smelled like forgotten dreams and mildew. Riley pushed open the door, her hand steady despite the hammering of her heart. Dust motes danced in the afternoon light streaming through grimy windows. Someone had been here recently. Fresh footprints disturbed years of neglect. "You came." Coach Mills stepped out from behind a stack of broken music stands. The woman looked different out of her tracksuit, smaller, more fragile, like she'd been carrying something heavy for too long. "You sent the message," Riley said. It wasn't a question. "Sit." Mills gestured to a dusty piano bench. "We need to talk about your sister. The real story." Riley remained standing. "I know the real story. Chase Wellington and his crew drove her to suicide with deep fake videos and psychological torture." Mills laughed, but it sounded like crying. "God, you really are your father's daughter. So sure you have all the answers." She pulled out her phone, swiping to a video. "Watch this." The screen showed Sophia, alive and angry, meeting with someone in a Preston Academy jacket. But as the figure turned, Riley's world tilted. It wasn't Chase or any of his crew. It was Mills herself, younger, less broken, but unmistakably her. "I don't understand," Riley whispered. "Your sister came to me 5 years ago," Mills said quietly. "Not as a victim, as someone trying to save a friend. Natalie Wu, you heard Emma mention her today. Sophia was tutoring Natalie. Saw the signs, tried to help. She came to Preston to confront the people hurting her friend." Riley's mind raced, reconstructing everything she thought she knew. But the deep fakes, the messages, all real, but they didn't start with Sophia. She stumbled into something that had been going on for years, a whole network, not just at Preston, but at prep schools across the state. Kids with tech skills and too much money, turning cruelty into currency. Mills sat heavily on a broken chair. Sophia was brilliant. She gathered evidence, traced IP addresses, found the servers. She was going to expose everything. So they killed her. "No," Mills' voice broke. "They did something worse. They threatened to release deep fakes of every victim she was trying to protect. Hundreds of kids. Unless she disappeared." The room spun. Riley grabbed the piano for support. "You're saying she chose to disappear?" "Yes. But something went wrong. The meeting on the roof wasn't supposed to end that way. She was supposed to fake her death. Go into protection. Let the FBI build their case quietly." Tears tracked down Mills' face. But Chase's father got wind of it. Made calls. Suddenly, the FBI backed off. The protection disappeared. And Sophia was alone on that roof with nowhere to go. "You let her die." The words came out ice cold. "I tried to save her," Mills shouted, then crumpled. "I was there, hidden, trying to talk her down. But they sent her one last message, a deep-fake video of Natalie that was already going viral. Sophia saw it, and she said she was sorry, and stepped off before I could stop her." Riley's phone buzzed. "Emma, they know! Get out now!" But Riley couldn't move. The truth was worse than any lie. Sophia hadn't been a simple victim. She'd been a hero who'd lost a war she couldn't win. "Why are you telling me this now?" Riley asked. "Because you're about to make the same mistake." Mills said urgently, "You think you can beat them with evidence and justice? Your sister had terabytes of evidence. She had the FBI. She had everything. And they still won. So what am I supposed to do? Let them keep destroying lives?" "No." Mills stood, suddenly looking less broken. "You do what Sophia couldn't. You don't fight their war. You fight yours." The door burst open. Chase Wellington stood there, flanked by his crew. But something was off. Marcus wasn't filming. Dylan looked scared. Even Ethan seemed uncertain. "Well, well," Chase drawled. "The ghost and the coward. Having a nice chat about dead sisters." Riley turned slowly. Everything her father had taught her about behavioral analysis crystallized into perfect clarity. Chase's micro-expressions, his stance. The slight tremor in his left hand, he was afraid. For the first time in his life. Truly afraid. "Hello, Chase," she said calmly. "Running scared already. I haven't even started yet." His smirk faltered. "You think you're tough. You have no idea what I can do to you." "Actually, I do." Riley pulled out her phone. "Deepfake technology, distributed through offshore servers. Funded by cryptocurrency stolen from your father's campaign funds. Oh, and that site you use, the one Marcus thinks is so secure, my dad helped design the FBI backdoor 3 years ago." Marcus went white. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Riley smiled. "Why don't you check your server logs from 20 minutes ago, specifically, the ones showing a full system mirror to FBI evidence storage?" It was a bluff. Mostly, her father had given her access codes, but she hadn't used them yet. "You're lying," Chase said, but uncertainty colored his voice. "Am I?" "Tell me, Chase, how do you think your father will react when he learns you've been stealing from his war chest? When the deepfakes you commissioned of Senator Bradley's daughter get traced back to his accounts?" Riley stepped forward. "You're not the only one who can destroy lives with lies. Except mine won't be lies." "Shut up," Chase snarled. "You don't know anything." "I know about Tampa," Riley said quietly. The room went still. Even Chase's crew looked confused. "What's Tampa?" Dylan asked. Riley kept her eyes on Chase. "Should I tell them about the girl at the conference? The one who was only 14, the one whose parents got paid off?" That was pure fabrication, but Riley had seen the tell the way Chase's eyes had flickered when she'd mentioned Tampa. There was something there, something real, and now his imagination would fill in the blanks. "You're just like your sister," Chase whispered. "Making up stories, seeing conspiracies." "No," Riley said. "I'm nothing like her. Sophia believed in justice. She thought the system would protect the innocent if she just provided enough proof. Me," she smiled, cold as winter. "I believe in revenge." Her phone rang. She answered without looking away from Chase. "Riley," her father's voice, stronger than she'd heard it in years. "Amara Davis just sent me everything. Everything. We've got them." "How many agents?" Riley asked. 30. On site in 10 minutes. Tell me you're somewhere safe." "I'm in the old music room with Coach Mills and Chase Wellington's crew," Riley said conversationally. "They're about to learn what happens when you hunt the wrong family." Chase lunged for her phone. Riley sidestepped, using a move her father had taught her when she was 12. Chase hit the piano with a discordant crash. "Run," Marcus said suddenly. "Chase, we need to go. Now." But it was too late. They could hear car doors slamming, voices shouting, the systematic sound of a raid unfolding. "You stupid bitch," Chase breathed. "You have no idea what you've done. My father will—" "Your father is being arrested as we speak," Riley said. "Did you really think the FBI didn't know about the campaign finance fraud? They just needed someone stupid enough to create a clear financial trail. Thanks for that, by the way." Ethan was the first to break, bolting for the door. Dylan followed, but Marcus stood frozen, staring at his phone as file after file appeared to delete itself. "Amara says hi," Riley told him. "She's been in your system for 6 months. Every victim, every video, every payment all backed up and delivered to the FBI with a pretty bow." Chase's face cycled through rage, fear, and finally, grotesque calculation. "Fine, but I'll take you down with me. One word from me and everyone will know what your family really is. How your dad covered up what?" Dr. Chen walked in, followed by Principal Green and several FBI agents. That his daughter was murdered, that he spent 5 years building a case everyone told him to drop, that he almost died trying to get justice for Sophia. Chase looked between them, realization dawning. "You were all working together." Dr. Chen smiled sadly. "For 3 years, ever since Lily Morrison, we couldn't move openly, couldn't risk the victims, but we could wait and watch and prepare." "I want a lawyer," Chase said. "You'll need one," the lead FBI agent said. "Chase Wellington, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, distribution of child pornography, cyberstalking, and about 15 other charges I'll detail at the station." As they cuffed him, Chase looked at Riley one last time. "This isn't over." Riley walked up to him, close enough to whisper, "You're right. It's just beginning. Every school you've infected, every victim you've created, every system you've corrupted, I'm coming for all of it. Sophia's work isn't done." They led him away, but Riley barely noticed. She was looking at Coach Mills, who was crying silently. "I'm sorry," Mills whispered. "I'm so sorry. I tried to save her." "I know," Riley said quietly. And she did. Mills was just another victim, broken by the same system that had killed Sophia. Later, as the sun set over Preston Academy, Riley stood with Amara and Emma in the empty courtyard. Federal agents were still processing evidence, and rumors flew like wildfire through the student body. "What happens now?" Emma asked. "Now we build something better," Riley said. "Something Sophia would have wanted. A network for victims. By victims. Anonymous support, technical resources, legal guidance. No one fights alone anymore." "Sophia's shield," Amara said softly. "I like it." Riley's phone buzzed. Her mother saw the news. "Dad's crying, good tears this time. Come home when you're ready, we love you," for the first time in 5 years. Riley felt something inside her unclench. Not healing, that would take time, but the beginning of something better than revenge. "There are 12 other schools in the network," Emma said. "Chase was just one node." "Then we have work to do," Riley said. As they walked toward the parking lot, Riley's hand found her bracelet one last time. 18 scratches for 18 truths. But maybe it was time to stop counting scratches and start counting victories. In her mind, she could almost hear Sophia's voice. "I'm proud of you, little sister. But be careful. The monsters don't always look like monsters." Riley smiled. "I know, Soph. That's why I learned to look like prey." 6 months later. Riley stood before a congressional hearing on cyberbullying and digital assault. Sophia's shield had helped expose networks in 32 schools across 7 states. The Preston Protocol was being implemented nationwide. Chase Wellington was serving 25 years. His father, 40. The offshore servers had been shut down, their contents used to identify and help thousands of victims. But Riley knew it wasn't over. Would never be over. New predators would rise. New technologies would emerge. New victims would suffer. The work would continue. "Ms. Thompson?" the senator asked. "What would you say to young people experiencing this kind of harassment today?" Riley thought of Sophia, of Lily Morrison slowly healing at Riverside, of Sarah Kim who'd joined their team, of all the ghosts learning to be visible again. "I'd tell them they're not alone," she said, "that their truth matters, that the shame belongs to the perpetrators, not the victims, and that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's building something they can never tear down." Her phone buzzed. "Amara. Got a live one. School in Dallas. You ready?" Riley typed back, "Always." Because Sophia had taught her something in death that she'd never learned in life, sometimes the only way to honor the fallen is to keep fighting for the living. And Riley Thompson. She was just getting started. The bracelet on her wrist caught the light, still 17 scratches marking old pain. But now wrapped in new purpose, not a reminder of silence, but a promise of voice. For Sophia. For all of them. Forever. Riley walked out of the congressional building into the Washington, D.C. sunshine, the same city where Sophia had died, now the place where her legacy lived. Her father waited by the car, looking healthier than he had in years. "She would have been so proud," he said softly. "She is," Riley replied, and meant it. As they drove past Georgetown Prep, Riley saw a girl sitting alone on the steps, hunched over her phone. That familiar look of isolation and fear. Without thinking, Riley asked her father to stop. She approached slowly, gently. "Hey, you okay?" The girl looked up, tears streaming. They posted things about me. Everyone's seen it." Riley sat beside her, pulling out a card. "You're not alone. Call this number. We can help." The girl took it with shaking hands. "Sophia's shield." "Started by my sister," Riley said. "She believed no one should fight alone." And in that moment, on those steps where Sophia had once tutored kids full of hope, Riley felt her sister's presence like warm sunlight. The work continued.